Hope you're well. What a mess we have found ourselves in this morning. This weekend has been a bit rotten with price action. Then we go into a morning market opening soon in the US with absolutely, yeah, let's keep the simpleness out the way. So, is this the essential last time to buy due to the market cycle terminology with the money flow, liquidity cycles? Or is that it? Are we done? Are we dead? No more? I think a lot of people think that, to be fair. Feels interesting, right? If you're new, like the live stream, or if you are watching the replay, leave a like. Let me know in the comments what you think. In the replay, live, whatever, I don't care. Let me know. If you want to get yourself heard, do a super chat or a thanks, whatever you want to do, right? So we're going to get into it. We're going to look at some things. We're going to have a bit of fun. We'll do some price stuff. We'll look at the news, where I think we're at. And yeah, we'll try and unpack it all. I've also set up my stream deck again, which is quite nice. So I can just toggle around and it looks quite neat and tidy. Lovely. So here we go. US CPI in, well, a couple of days. We've got Donald Trump's inauguration. We've got jobless claims to come, which the job market was pretty good on Friday. Not to mention other bits of data that is looking relatively interesting, but it is earning season as well. So that could also be very interesting. But before I went live, there was a bit of a news bulletin coming out that Mr. Saylor from MicroStrategy, you've probably heard of him, has bought more BTC, saving the market. Should buy him a bit a Batman cave, but with a Bitcoin. Should we make a Bitman? No, that sounds shit. Ignore me. So yeah, interesting. Obviously, the market hasn't had much of a flow. I mentioned this on my Patreon this morning. We've obviously had a couple of off days for obvious reasons, and January is often bad. And I know if you've been watching my videos, you'll know this, but it's never the greatest of months, January. And I know that's kind of obvious, but there is some good price data that I will look at some basic stuff and show you some things because I think there's some really interesting opinions out there. And I think it's pretty apparent, right? So far, not looking good. Actually, let me just press a refresh button. It's probably, yeah, no, it's fine. We're good. So we're down 2.7% or 2.07%. Not bad. We're up at, interesting levels realistically when we think about, the past. We had a pretty December. So that'll be interesting. But often you may find that, yeah, January is a little bit of an iffy month for Bitcoin, especially. But February, March tends to be quite good. So as you know, this is where it leads us, kind of ish. This is their price performance into cycle low. We're kind of in that realm where every single January at this point, it comes down. For some reason, it just goes a bit. And we'll look at some hodl data, we'll look at some money flow data, and we'll look at some bits and pieces, and obviously some other interesting bits and bobs. But the reality is here, I think people are getting a little bit upset because I said it before my last live stream. People are overexposed, or think this is the last cycle. A lot of impatientness coming out, but I've been hopefully managing my position pretty well, but it's quite hard to keep those emotions in check when you're expecting things to happen all the time. We had that little tease, didn't we? Realistically, in December, it went a bit berserk, and then it just cooled off. Pretty horrible. September was good, October was good, November was good, December was starting good, and then Jerome Powell came and kicked us in the ghoulies with the rate cut change, which was a problem. In terms of obviously hodl data, Bitcoin, right? So far, not bad. When we look at the data here, there's quite a lot of people have not moved their Bitcoin for over a year, which is pretty impressive, really. It's come down a little bit. Don't get me wrong. People have taken some money off the table. But when you think about where it has been and the growth of it, it's actually been pretty good, pretty steady. So, yeah, I look at this and I think it's still relatively bullish considering where we are in the market. I've often said this, though, for me, anyways, people tend to get a bit, I do anyways, a bit protective of their Bitcoin because it's so high. People have looked at this market and go, I'm not going to move a Bitcoin into altcoins. Why would you want to do that? I made money on my Bitcoin. Kind of makes sense, really. So you probably will find that this will probably gradually over time go up. And what's interesting is it hasn't really deviated much, but we are kind of at a new leg. So are we going to go even higher in the future? Maybe. Other bits and pieces on here, by the way. This is a really awesome site, by the way, Bitcoin Magazine Pro. There's all kinds on here. But one thing that is interesting is obviously the M2. The M2 is interesting, right? Because we're starting to show a little bit of sign of life again. We're starting to I wouldn't say it's trickling up, but it probably will start trickling up at some point. But what about Donald Trump? Will he start bringing up the money printers? Will he start doing things? And now we're going to just continue going higher, therefore bringing certain things down, such as the dollar. The DXY is absolutely flying to the moon right now. So we need to kind of curb that. The final thing to talk about, and I saw this like a day or two ago, really interesting bit of information from Quinton on here. Retail investors. Hello, guys and girls. You lot are retail investors, as am I. And we are at really, really low levels. Now, for obvious reasons, you're going to get people that will come back. And I often say we're probably going to get a consolidation at some point with Bitcoin, whether that happens sooner rather than later. Altcoins will breathe and they'll start catching bids again and they'll get their massive reactions. But realistically, as things start to turn, we may well find that this will be an interesting period. Going back and flicking back to what I mentioned before with this, look at every single time we get out of this wooded area, it goes really high into legs up, especially the last two cycles. Obviously, this cycle is a little bit different, but this cycle was like the Mount Gox cycle, so it's a little bit weird. So with that, what if we are going to repeat? And more often than not, we're kind of in pace with it. Realistically, we're not doing too bad. We're actually outpacing at one point, which is pretty interesting if you remember this one. Left translated cycle. All that kind of good stuff. So yeah, things could be very, very interesting to where we go. But yeah, let me know in the comments what you think or however you want to do it. As I say, if you're watching the replay, like, subscribe, follow for more, all that kind of good stuff. But yeah, we'll see how things go. But let's talk about the price because I alluded to it before. The dollar is really high. Right now, this is stupidly high. This should come back down at some point, hopefully. Whether this means adding more money to the circulating supply of the beautiful dollar, that could happen. Obviously, what we're seeing as well is the VIX is relatively high. You can see that here, right? Realistically, this is a lot higher than what it normally is. Obviously, we've been quite low for a while and we're in the 20s. It's been a while since we've been properly in it. Obviously, we had this bit of a period here and obviously these random spikes, but we're actually quite trending up here. It's quite, ooh. So obviously with that, stock market's dropping a little bit, but this I think needs tamed. Obviously, when this goes down, often you find that cryptocurrency does well. So maybe we start seeing a turn. And what if Donald Trump coming into power in the next couple of days is going to change the narrative a little bit? Obviously, with Bitcoin, people are a little bit worried. This is where we are. We look like to be creating a new low here. We're at the range lows, and I want us to slow down. I want us to chill out. I want us to relax. I want us to realistically just relax and chill and have a bit of fun realistically, and hopefully altcoins catch a bid or runes start taking off again and a little bit of boredom kicks in because this is doing nothing. Because every time this goes up a little bit and then comes down a little bit, it wipes everything off. And you can see here, look at the discrepancy between obviously Bitcoin down 3.55 and then the altcoins are down a lot, which is obviously meaning Bitcoin dominance is up quite a lot. Now, as I've alluded to before in previous videos and live streams, if we didn't have that XRP pump and stuff like that, this would be well above this level, well above it. So it's very interesting to see how the market really hasn't shifted. So realistically, altcoins still majorly struggling, which is unfortunate. But as you can imagine, look at Ethereum. Ethereum's a one. If you talk about altcoins and like obviously Solana as well, if these start doing well, yeah, cool. But in terms of downtrends, why isn't there not a futures contract platform for BTC pairs? I mean, we'd all just go net short and we probably would have won over the last 2 years easily, but there isn't one, unfortunately. Same with Solana. It's starting to break down. You can see this is pretty aggressive now. This is a level that I don't know when I put this in my chart, to be honest with you. It's broken down. It's went below it. It's went and retested it. And now we are on our merry way, probably down and retesting this low from basically Christmas Day or around that time frame. So we need to be very, very mindful of the TA. If you want more technical analysis videos, I do them on my Patreon, by the way. I do a dedicated video on them on a Tuesday. But realistically, I hate doing TA when the price is like this because often you find that it'll get ripped up. It'll get ripped apart and it'll be like, boom, something different's going to happen in like the next 20 minutes. Because obviously, yes, the market open in the US, which we'll probably catch, will do something different. And obviously, with Michael Saylor buying Bitcoin, allegedly, according to that account, hopefully it is true. It might be bollocks, who knows? It might change things a little bit. So we'll see how it goes. The final thing to talk about, this is kind of mentioned in my Patreon as well. I don't tend to follow it much, but I know some people like to talk about it, is obviously the Russell 2000, the Russell 2000, sorry. This does have a little bit of a kind of correlation between obviously the Bitcoin and altcoin narrative. Yeah, it's all looking great right now. But realistically, it's at spot levels now. So we'll see where this opens and where it actually trades and see if it actually finds and catches a bid around here. Obviously, yes, you've got earnings season coming up, so that could change the narrative a little bit. And obviously, job data, US CPI data, and all that kind of stuff. So we could be going into Wednesday, and it might be feeling horrible. Then there might be some good news coming out, and it might just flip on a switch realistically. So try not to be too caught up in the emotions of it. But if you're trading, it's probably pretty rough, unless you're going short and if you're on altcoins. But if you're trading Bitcoin, I think, in my opinion, Bitcoin's one of the worst things to trade right now. Like, obviously, this is a 3-day time frame. Since what, mid-November, it's been really ugly. Like, this is ugly price action. It kind of reminds me of this, where I've had a ugliness, push, ugliness. I'm just hoping that we're not going to get another 7-month consolidation period. That could be fun. So yeah, that could be really interesting to keep an eye on. But yeah, other than that, not a lot to talk about. Obviously, Bitcoin miners not doing great at the minute. They're not terrible, but ultimately pre-market they're down a bit. Most of them are down, well, about a couple of percent here and there. But tech stocks not doing great at the minute, which is a little bit unfortunate. Anyways, I'm going to look at some questions and see how things are going. Hello, on a big screen again. Haha. If you're new, well, not even if you're new, just like the video. Thanks. But yeah, let me know if you like the live streams. I think a lot of people are enjoying them, which is good to see. I think it does help. And I think my plan is, and I talked about it in terms of what I want to do. Obviously, I'll probably do exit plans and I'll do random stuff. Might do some, interactive stuff. So I can talk about things, I can show you, I can educate, and you can ask questions at the same time. Not many people do that. So I thought, why not be a bit more with it? The most bullish crypto government is going to take place soon. However, I'm not doing that. I don't like the fact of the cryptocurrency and government it being like, shaking hands, so to speak. I remember when I first joined crypto back in 2016. Very different beast versus what it is now. And now we're like, oh, Donald Trump in office, let's go, baby. You know what I mean? It kind of like, what's going to happen here? Is it going to ruin? I don't know, but we'll see. Do you think that core PPI data and tomorrow's CPI data weighs heavily on them? I think it will weigh heavily because it's the first one of the year, and it kind of sets a precedent of what could be happening long term. Because obviously we've had Mr. Powell go, oh, but we're not going to be doing as many rate cuts. That kind of sucked. So stuff like that kind of hurt, and I think that kind of caught us out by a bit. So we'll see what the data comes up with. Core CPI might not move, but ultimately inflation might trickle up a little bit. January looks like a wash. Yeah, I agree. I think it's just going to be the same as like it. I wouldn't mind if it did nothing. Like just do nothing. But it's not. It's like it's volatile. It's going up and down, up and down. It's pretty rough, the market at the minute, and it's a bit annoying realistically. So we'll see how things go. Uh, do you think it's time to sell off spot? Nah, I'm not. The time to sell was like a month ago, not now. I mean, take profit at the tops, buy at the lows. That's the sort of vibe. You don't want to like hope the bottom's going to go lower sort of thing and sell, if that makes sense. Obviously, it's like buying high and hoping it goes higher. That's like the worst thing you can do. But I think if we're looking at history, history tells us that January is a bit of an iffy month. Obviously, Donald Trump inauguration. Ooh, uncertainty. Ooh, markets don't like uncertainty. The dollar flying to the moon right now. Stuff like that is huge. Obviously, the data, the labor market's really good. What recession? It probably isn't going to be one for a while. Like everyone keeps talking about recessions and stuff. It's like, oh well, the job market's not telling us that. So we'll see. We'll see how things go. Alta done for. Good luck. Well, yeah, alts don't look great, do they? I think people might be disappointed with altcoins this cycle. I think this. I don't think they're gonna die, but I just think like the days of like stupid returns are probably not here because they're already down lows. I mean, some will catch a bid, but do people have the conviction and the bollocks to buy the lows? Well, that's the question. That's the ultimate question. We'll see how things go. Buy the dip on runes. I bought the dip on runes over the weekend and on Friday, and now I'm down. Not down much, to be fair. I'm not too worried. It's all risk management and spread risk, but ultimately I'd rather be in runes than altcoins because I'd rather risk less of my portfolio and get high reward versus having more of my portfolio in something and hoping it does very well. Seeing a lot of people panic. Yeah, I I honestly, right, I'm going to put the screen back on because the way I look at this, and this is going to sound pretty obvious to people, I'm seeing a lot of panic here, and we're already at $91,000. Now, obviously, I know that not everyone's in an altcoin. Fair enough. Okay, that's understandable. They're all in altcoins, they're not in Bitcoin. I'm heavy Bitcoin, I'm fine. But the reality is, a lot of people like looking at this thinking, oh my God, it's going to go like down, whatever. It could easily go down to this $83,000 level very easily and still be up significantly from the market low. That's the thing. It's still a correctional pullback. We've had many of these correctional pullbacks across the course of the last 2 years, give or take, right? So that is a factor, relatively huge, isn't it? But what's interesting is we are on path with everything. And obviously, I watched Camel Finance's video and he had a little bit of a graphic going on about money flow and where we could be going and whatnot. And if the money flow does continue and we get a similar sort of return in terms of like the 2017, 2018 bull market, it could now this is going to sound bonkers and I really hope this makes sense. It doesn't make any sense to me, but people are talking about obviously the returns of that to this, right? If we get a repeat, which I find unlikely, it's a 16x from here with Bitcoin. That would be like a 1.5, $1.6 million Bitcoin. I find that very unlikely, right? And I echo the same as what he said in his video. I can't even comprehend 300,000 BTC. Like, there's a lot of people on my Learning Crypto and obviously Patreon and stuff like talking about predictions and like they're going, oh, it's gonna go to 500, 600, 700,000. I'm like, yeah, cool, whatever. But until it happens, I'm not that fussed. My targets have been on my chart for absolutely ages, which is here, like in between these extension levels, because I cannot compute it going above 200k. Going above like 300k, I'm like, what is happening sort of vibe, because that's going to be ridiculous levels, by the way, from the low. So going all the way up to like millions is like, come on now. So I still think there's a lot of attention grabbing content out there that's going to catch people out. Same with altcoins. Like, look at, like, I don't even want to go on YouTube because it hurts my eyeballs, but everyone's got last chance to scale in this altcoin before a 50x. Like, yeah, don't get me wrong, my YouTube video title today is last chance to buy, but ultimately we're buying a potential dip in Bitcoin or other said assets that could go into, as I say, return to it, this market move. This dip could be the last possible big dip that you're going to get before things start to change. Because obviously, what happens with Donald Trump? We don't know. What if it really does just turn? It just turns on a knife edge and go, wow, okay, that was obvious. But you may also look at it and go, well, it was obvious to not even bother right now, and it might go lower. It's all about risk. And this is why you need to buy as far away from all-time high. And I've been saying that for ages, which is why if you're in at these lows down here, you've got nothing to worry about, realistically. Yeah, your money's coming down a little bit, but ultimately that's investing. It all goes up, it goes down. Sometimes it doesn't move at all. So yeah, you got to look at that as a factor. But yeah, as I say, I've seen a lot of content out there and talking about obviously comparing to previous cycles, but I always believe in diminishing returns. I can't see this with money, liquidity and stuff. Obviously, look at the dominance. Dominance is high in Bitcoin. Wow. Where's the money going to come from? Well, I don't know. We haven't got that many wrecked plebs yet in terms of traders. But yeah, we'll see how things go there because I think people are looking at it from the wrong point of view. Looking at like altcoins going to change your life, but what if they don't? What if they don't? Could go horrendously wrong. Hey, hello, Camel Finance. How you diddling? But yeah, we just need to believe. I don't think many people do believe these days. I think it's all gone sideways, all gone wrong. But yeah, it's interesting to see the human psychology of it all. Bitcoin narrative this cycle with the ETF strategic reserve will do okay. And I don't know. I think people forget that this is still high. Like, I wouldn't say high, but you know what I mean? Like, we haven't got long to go. I don't think we've got long to go. And I've been, as I just alluded to it, everyone's talking about ETF. ETF's been around for a year now. Strategic reserve is coming whenever that is coming. You've obviously got the whole debacle with Silk Road. You've got Ross that could potentially get released. You've got FTX money that could be coming to the market. Obviously, Donald Trump alone could be a catalyst. There's all kinds of different catalysts out there. And then you've got obviously What if they turn the money printer on? What if the dollar comes down? What if certain things go? The thing is, people will look at Bitcoin and expect it to go much higher than these levels when maybe it probably won't. That's my point in terms of it probably will end at some point in this year, like normal. Normal thing will happen. Leverage will just get sucked into it and it'll blow something up, whatever that may be. Whether it might be Michael Saylor or some other company that's gone a bit balls deep with buying Bitcoin because they've FOMO'd in, and green candles will always bring people in. As I say, like look at these higher time frame candles. If you look at these candles here, it looks crazy. But it doesn't take much for people to get excited. A couple more green candles up in here and going to $160,000. People will start getting FOMO and they'll be like, I want to buy Bitcoin. And all of a sudden, people that are down here with like big balls will just go, I'm out. And as I say, I can't really compute anything higher than 300k Bitcoin. I can't. I think it'd be too mental, too crazy. Because people that have been in much longer will be like, well, I'm comfortable. Yeah, I can just sell a bit and it'll cascade. Don't have to sell a lot, but they could because people will be risking it all up here. That's just usually how it is. People don't risk it down here, but they'll risk it all up here. It doesn't make any bloody sense, realistically, does it? But hey, that's just my opinion on it. Could be fun. Could be, yeah, it's one of those. It really is one of those sort of situations where the mindset, the psychology, it all becomes a part of it. And then altcoins will probably have a little blow off where they'll just catch up a little bit. It'll look really good on the USD pairs because obviously the value of Bitcoin is really high, but ultimately in the BTC pair, they probably got destroyed because I can't see many of them, reclaiming their all-time high there or get anywhere close to it. And for most people, they don't actually buy dips very well. So we'll see how it goes. Let's have a little look. What have we got? Ethereum BTC bottom. Oh, I don't know. No, personally not. I think this is going to go lower. Let me just put my there we go. So this is chart analysis I've had on for my chart for a while. If you've been a member of my Patreon, you'll know this. I talked about this range. We've rejected it. And I've also got this ugly, horrible red line down here, right? So what this red line represents is essentially where we kind of bottomed last time, essentially, right? In and around this area. It's a bit ugly. So we've got 2018 levels, 2019 levels. We've got also resistance levels in 2020, as well as the final kind of boss before it went boom. What if we just go back down there and then that's it? And I know it sounds a bit scary. Sorry for anyone, but could go down 20% potentially. Ethereum's not done very well this year. Realistically, as you can kind of allude. Well, I'll say this year, last year, and the year before last. I'm just remembered we're in 2025 now. Oops. So you get the idea. I don't think this is bottom just yet. I think we're on a unconfirmed potential for a double bottom potentially. But realistically, if it loses this area, well, basically how this will lose its area is if Bitcoin just wakes up a little bit and this just continues going and creates a new low, and it'll just probably wiggle down to it. There's some levels down here, don't get me wrong, but ultimately, pretty, yeah, the narrative's literally there, lower potentially. So we'll see how it goes. When I sell, as I have a lot of different transactions, seems like you have a nightmare to it. It's not. Tax is easy. Tax is a doddle. Tax is easy peasy. Just go on to like a Coinly. There's a link in my bio. I think you get like 10% off or something. You just put your wallets in and then off it goes. Oof. It's ugly and some of your transactions may not be right, but at least it tracks most of it. Opinion on BTC.D, probably going to go higher. In my opinion, I think we're going to chuckle up to this top. The thing is, as I've alluded to it, without XLM, without Hedra, without the XRP kind of push, this will be probably into the 63% right now, which I know sounds baffling for some people, but even when you look at the XRP dominance, this is like, imagine if that didn't happen, right? That's like 3% there, so it's higher, it's still high, it's still looking pretty not good. The reason why I also say about that is obviously this as well. This is a total 3/BTC. Again, chart and analysis, it broke out of a little bit of a range that we had. This is like a low back in like the, 11th of the 11th. We could be going back and retesting these levels. So basically what this represents is a total 3/BTC. So it's basically the entire market cap without BTC and Ethereum in the BTC pair. That doesn't look like a healthy trending, nice looking chart, does it? It looks like it's had a bit of a fake out. It's gonna create. Well, let's have a little look. It's created a lower high, sorry, into probably about the 50% mark. It doesn't make, I think we're probably going to go back down, retest at least here or here, personally, which will be pretty ugly. And that's because I don't think altcoins will catch a bid anytime soon. And obviously, if Bitcoin bounces, I don't think altcoins will bounce as heavy with it. But that's just due to the performance of BTC over the course of the last 2 years. Obviously, altcoins have done the opposite of BTC, which makes it pretty ugly, unfortunately. So yeah, it's one of those. It's just a bit ugly. We aren't posting Lambos yet or Rolexes. Yeah, that's true. Rolexes do follow the Bitcoin chart in some weird and wonderful, odd way. All style recycle if you bought them and they pop eventually. Yeah, it's hard to schedule the bottom though. That's a problem. When alts finally start pumping, probably does it last a few months? It depends on how you look at it, because sometimes they last a couple of months, and sometimes, like 2017, 2018, you have like a 6 week period of craziness. Even if you think start of last year, we had like what, a 5, 6 week run on altcoins. I wouldn't even say altcoins, it was just some altcoins because Bitcoin was like doing nothing. Likewise, the end of 2024, we had a little bit of like a 2, 3 week spurt. It needs Bitcoin to chill, and that's the problem with all of this. It's Bitcoin has done nothing other than up, down, up the window, out the stairs. No, sorry, up the stairs, out the window sort of vibe, which has kind of made it really hard. What is the best method to buy the dip? Personally, what I do on my dollar cost average challenge, I set $250 every Sunday to go into Bitcoin, and that's just a little random challenge I'm doing. Um, that's nearly 10,000. Well, it would have been $10,000. It probably nowhere near that now. But yeah, I've just been doing that since September, and it's doing all right. It's doing pretty well. I think I've outperformed Michael Saylor, which is pretty awesome in terms of percentages. And I only started in September. Yeah, it's just one of those, isn't it? Market timing's key. Obviously, I'm not playing with billions of dollars as well. That does help. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. Should she get out before May? Who? What? Do you mean we? Oh, should we get out before May? Um, Selling may go away is a genuine thing. Realistically, I think a lot of people go on holiday then. I think, right, if you're thinking altcoins and we're thinking, right, is this the last time to buy? I think there's two ways of looking at it. I think buying dips on Bitcoin just kind of makes sense, because the way I look at it, this level here, let's be honest, if you've got conviction in Bitcoin going higher and you want to have some Bitcoin, it's not a bad place to be. Obviously, you can go down to the $82,000, $83,000 levels. You don't spunk all your load in one shot, basically. You always have some money. Or as I say, if you're buying weekly or whatever, realistically, it's not going to hurt you if you buy here and not here, or if you buy here and some here. It doesn't matter, right? With altcoins, I think it's a bit different nowadays. I think with altcoins, you've got to look at real strong convictional levels, like proper horrible ugly levels on the BTC pairs, especially, right? So as I said before, right, look at obviously Chainlink. You could argue this isn't too bad, it's near the lows, but the problem with like obviously altcoins is they could go even lower. And when you go into these higher time frames, and you can see it here realistically, like look at the state of it. Like sometimes you will catch bids and they'll do well. They will buy off key strong levels from the past and they do well. But this is the Bitcoin pair alone. It may not reflect in the USD prices if Bitcoin does crap. So yeah, it's one of those. I think you need to wait for momentum to kind of shift a little bit. And obviously, as I say, total 3/BTC. Start seeing this trend up, you could get a decent bid. Problem is, what are you buying? Why are you buying it? Have you done your research? What level are you buying? It's all if buts, maybes, but ultimately, you know, this could be the perfect opportunity to start loading up on some things that you wanted to buy. And this is the thing, we talk about it all the time. Like a couple of weeks ago, certain things would have been like, oh, I wish it was low, I wanted to buy it. But you've probably got FOMO'd in, realistically. And that tends to be quite an obvious thing with this market. A big green candle will always throw you kind of a weird kind of bone that'll go, I don't really want to buy that today, but if it goes back down to those levels, I'll buy it. But then when it goes down to those levels, you don't buy it. And you're like, ah, I should have just bought. I should have just bought, but you don't. So yeah, it's one of those. Um, And I think people are thinking too late as well. I think people are looking at certain things and going, "Oh, I wish I held more Bitcoin." Well, yeah, obviously, everyone should do that, and I've been talking about that for quite a while. But hey ho, it is what it is. All I want is near to $10, then I'm done. Hmm. Bought BDC div, think it's going to go lower. Possibly, I think Rune's going to go. I wouldn't say low, but they're already down quite a lot. But I think once that they start catching bids and there's a bit of hype come back, they'll probably be absolutely fine. If BTC drops to 75 to 80,000, I suggested this will. Yeah, like altcoins will get destroyed. If Bitcoin as well bounces and altcoins don't pick up with it, it's going to be double whammy, really. I think altcoins are. There's too many. There's too many altcoins at the minute. I think that's a problem. Not enough money and too many altcoins. Just the whole supply demand element. But we'll see how it goes. What else have we got? I feel like swapping my alt back to BTC. Nah, I think it's too late to do that. I think altcoins, you've got to stick. You know, all I've done with some of my altcoins, I've removed positions and I've moved them into memes. I've not done anything else other than that. Only for a higher risk to reward factor for a bit of fun, some profit that I've got laying around. But ultimately, selling into Bitcoin now when you've got like a negative in terms of like a real big drawdown, that's rough. Don't want to do that. Overexposed to risk is not good. Yeah, I think a lot of people are genuinely over risked. I think a lot of people are looking to get rid of it, like bugger off in the cycle. I think a lot of people like want to make big money, and me and Gas talked about it in the Learning Crypto YouTube channel, and we talked on Tuesday. Like it feels like um buying the lows and like FTX or like the mentality of the previous cycles was always buy the dips, buy as low as you possibly can. You'll be rewarded. But what happened was Bitcoin rewarded people, but they didn't reward altcoin holders, which was the absolute problem, which obvious problem, right? So normally what would happen is obviously if in the FTX crash, you'd often get a bit of a bounce with altcoins, but they actually created much lower lows. It's like, oh shit, problem, as you can imagine. What's that quote? Even if there's no typical alt season, most of them will still outperform Bitcoin this year. I think BTC did well. Yeah, I do agree in a certain extent, but I think a lot of people are expecting a lot more returns. I think if certain well, like hold on, I'll show you. Because if I put it back onto the screen, what we have is obviously this is a total 3, and you can see that's crazy. I don't think we're going to retrace back up to these highs. I just think there's too many altcoins. So it'll be very selective. I think it'll be very, very selective on what does well. I think right now the thing that you need and the key ingredient realistically is people and hype. Are people using it? Is it hyped? It doesn't matter about technology as much. And when we look at the likes of Dogecoin, random example, it's not going to go probably up here, I don't think, because there's too many tokens out now for obvious reasons with the inflation. And that was a crazy pump. But ultimately, it will probably mean a higher dollar value because Bitcoin is much higher in price. But the way I look at it, Dogecoin, I can't see it doing like a 3, 4x. I just can't, in the BTC pair, I can't see it. That's where people will trip up. They will find something, it'll probably go up a little bit. They think they've done well because Bitcoin's done well. And ultimately, it means they've just lost a lot of Bitcoin over the course of time. Unless they've bought a very aggressively at these lows, which I don't think they will because not many people are bright enough to look at that. AVAX, great example. At the highs up here, all the way down here. Is it going to do a 3 or 4x in the BTC pair? Probably not. But will it reflect well on USD price if it does like a 2x or up to here potentially? Yeah, but it still doesn't look like a bull market for it in the BTC pair, which is giving us why that dominance is high. But if every single altcoin does a little bounce like that, it'd be nice. Don't get me wrong. But it depends on what Bitcoin does too, for obvious reasons. So when we talk about like the start of last year, it was quite a big bid that this caught, and some things did well, but Bitcoin was nowhere near as valuable. Imagine if it did that again, and Bitcoin was 100, 120, 150k. Cool. But that's where people think they've done well, but actually, realistically, you should have just held Bitcoin because that's what's happened. I don't think personally we're going to see a move like this on the likes of AVAX. I just don't. Polkadot's another good example. Cycle 18% inflation every single year for a while until it changed recently. But that's more tokens out there. That means it's much harder to achieve those goals. There won't be many things that will do an new all-time high in BTC. My personal thought, anyways. Whether that becomes a true reflection or not, I don't know. But yeah, selling your alts now is a classic. Yeah, it's a classic newbie move. But the problem you got with conviction and emotion and all that kind of stuff, you are designed as a human to get rewarded in certain ways, but obviously the market will take off the weak hands. The impatient to the patient hands, right? So it's like in football terms, if you're in the 90th minute and you're trying to score a goal, you're getting that fear. Likewise, the other way around, if you score, you get that joy. It's just the way it is. But yeah, if you sell now, if you literally go and if you've been holding something for 3 years and you've done nothing with it and you just decide to sell it today, it's pointless because you've probably given away so many of those gains to the market, literally in the BTC pair. Craziness. And that's what the value of your asset actually is in, not USD. Let's be honest here. Listen to this guy's advice. He's been in the game for years. It's good to see you. Yeah. Thank you, Matthew. It's been a while. It's been a while since I've seen you around, actually. Welcome back. So many people crying about old. Just chill and wait. What do you think about? I don't like Casper. I think it's shit. But hey, that's my opinion on it. I think a lot of DJ money is wasting Solana meme coins. If all money was spent on top 50, that's a good point, and I think it goes back to that point of market spread. And as daft as it sounds, right? We've got millions of coins now, and we think about Solana, we think about other ecosystems now, like Base, for example, randomly. All these tokens getting created on it, and you get these little seasons. So obviously, as you can imagine, well, you got 6 or 7 big chains that can now create coins. And if you think about the spread of it, it's just like getting blue tack and just making it go further and further and gets thinner and thinner as it pulls out. So yeah, if you think about like the top 50 and you look at the top 50 and you think like if the volume from say all those shit coins was going into say Cardano, Avalanche, Chainlink as a good example, Polkadot, and it doesn't even have to be volume, it just has to be people and users and interest, they would be much higher because that's kind of common sense. But that hasn't been the case. And what's created is a bit of an avalanche effect where fear and greed becomes a big important factor because people are fearful for their investments. But as well, a lot of uninformed investors who are buying shite because they've been told about it on Reddit or Telegram way after the move, through insider knowledge, through VCs and whatnot. And that's it. They've got ruined because they've not actually done any research and they've got stupidly high emissions, which are getting bled on throughout the course of the market. It happens. People just mess up. I'm myself included. We all make mistakes, but the reality is, when we look at this top 100, there's some good assets here, but they're not catching many bids at the minute, and that's the thing. They will eventually, and certain ones will do well, but not all. I think that's where I think that's the thing. I think this cycle alone, when we look at it, at that top 50, top 100, whatever it may be, there's ugliness because I think what's going to happen is people are going to get so annoyed because certain things are going to pop off more than others, and that's it. It's going to absolutely create a toxic environment. It's going to be ugly. It'll be really ugly. Because imagine it, like, say if you're a Chainlink holder, right? Random example here, versus something else, and Chainlink does not move. Wow, it's going to hurt, isn't it? Let's be honest, it will hurt for a lot of people, but we'll see how it goes. See where it goes, anyways. When you say expecting a lot more returns, like 2 to 4x, yeah, I do. I think a lot of people are going to expect it like going absolutely berserk. Yeah, don't get me wrong, some will. Some will do a 10, 20x, depending on what you're buying. Or if you're in like the meme coin trenches, yeah, fair enough. But if you're looking at, say, the top 50, right? And I'll put my screen back on. The top 50, you look at, say, VeChain, for example, right? You'd expect that to do probably, let's be honest, in the bull market, you probably expect that to do at least a 5x, at least. You got other ones down here, like Filecoin, for example. Algorand is a potential dark horse to do pretty well. But can you see that at like 27 billion? Probably not. Whereas in previous cycles, you'd probably be pretty confident and hanging your hat on the fact that they do much better, but they just haven't. And that's the thing. Some will, don't get me wrong, as I say, like some you go quite low down, they'll catch a bid and they'll do very well. but it depends on where they start. But normally you'd look at some of these and you think, wow, they'd all do well. Like Cardano in the previous cycle was like 70 odd billion-dollar market cap. What is it today? 31. You know, is it going to go way beyond its all-time high? Well, actually, no, I might be lying there. Bear with me. Let me just check that because I can't quite remember what it was. There, 94 billion. So 94 billion all-time high in terms of market capitalization. That's so like you would have expected it to do. So going back a bit, first cycle, second cycle. Are we going to make a new high? That's where the expectation is. But whereas I think now, I don't think that will. I think that will probably fall short. And with the hype of everything else going around, it probably won't get as much sunlight. Doesn't make it a bad asset. It just means that there's more assets to go around and less money to go around and fill them. So that could be an interesting point. So you got to look at that as a different perspective. So when we're talking about buying the dips, which is mad, you've got to pick wisely. And that's why I'm saying pick the obvious in terms of people, the hype. You know, Solana might do very well versus what you actually do think. Or it might not do as well. You just don't know, do you? That's the thing. It's an ultimate thing. Why do why do we expect more uptrend when our portfolios are all I don't know. I don't know. I think it's just a habit of cycles, isn't it? And liquidity cycles that it's all there in the data. But we'll see how it all goes. Usually a decline in retail investors followed by a massive decline in beta. Yeah, I agree. It's weird, isn't it? It's weird how it's quite stable. And my bullish conviction hasn't changed. It really hasn't. But what has changed is how people are behaving. You know, there's a lot of influencers getting caught up in the emotions of it. There's a lot of people like bullish, constantly bullish. But time to buy is at certain points. Time to sell is obviously at certain points. Right now, it feels like it's time to buy. The sentiment's toxic. It's a bit ugly. People are getting a bit pissy. The market's at support levels. It kind of makes sense. And often you get rewarded for buying certain things at certain times. That's why I want to buy Bitcoin later on today at 90 odd thousand, and I'll be quite happy with that buy. Realistically, I might be rewarded, I might not be. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah. To anyone considering joining the Discord, yeah, join Discord. It's awesome. My Patreon. It's awesomes. But yeah, there's a lot of things out there at the minute which is a bit ugly, I think. And the problem I have with a lot of things is I'm trying to word it nicely, but I think a lot of people will get upset in terms of just how the performance will be because the perception is different. What do you think about ZK Sync? Why are you not answering my question? Because I don't know it. I have no idea what it is, so I'm not going to answer stuff. I'm not the biggest altcoin lover these days. My research into altcoins is so much lower than what it used to be. I don't have enough time to research altcoins all the time. I'd rather stick with what I know, which makes more sense to me. US trading is opening soon. Are we going to catch any sort of moves? Is things going to do anything nice? Probably not. Probably going to go and that's probably going to. Ooh, are we going to create a new low here and go to 90k? Ooh, that would be ugly, wouldn't it? Imagine that. Imagine if that actually happens. Probably will, to be fair. Probably going to go to 85 or something daft. People go around alters, merry-go-round when they sell, when they pump, sell. Yeah. It feels interesting with altcoins, as I say. Just interesting. Do you think an AI agent narrative? Nah. I've, as the person said just below that, AI is everywhere. Even like marketing tools and stuff. It's like they have a big old thing going powered by AI. Like, right? And what was it powered with? Not long before it. Like everything's just AI. Borings. At least you could say something. Well, you try catching up with all these questions. It's kind of like a bit crazy. If you're going to ask the same question, just wait. At the end of the day, you probably know that I don't really talk much about altcoins specifically because the thing is with live streams, people are like, oh, look, I'll get him to talk about something. Hey, get a free shill. Yeah, it's just one of those, isn't it? Max Payne, ETH Moons and everything. Yeah. Oh, that would be the. Oh, imagine that on your bingo card. Yeah, like so. Imagine this scenario. I'm gonna play this scenario out to you guys. I said about this a few weeks ago, actually, that Ethereum just max pain when you feel like it's gonna die and it's gonna go towards this red zone, it just goes bang. But only 3 or 4 assets go with it. So maybe Solana goes with it. Maybe BNB goes with it because it's an exchange token, right? But the likes of your Chainlink and your Injective, your Polkadot, your Cardanos don't flow with it. It's like, oh no, that could be a horrible scenario. Imagine that. It'd be great though, wouldn't it? I need to put 3 BTC on my chart because I keep forgetting to do that. So yeah, it's not looking great if you are balls deep in altcoins and you're expecting bids to come in soon. I mean, that's been a quality performer. I remember doing a video on that saying, don't buy this because it's going to melt. It did. Actually, I did the video here, to be fair. It melted quite a bit and then it went off you go, my friend, which is pretty good, really. Quite like it when it does that. What are your thoughts on Bitcoin SV? It's not the real Bitcoin, though, is it? Let's be honest. Use AI to answer. Yeah, it'd be a great idea. Lewis, you're spot on, right? I'm not sure why everyone is desperate for a 10, 20x. Yeah, I think it comes down to timing. And I think I hit the nail on the head a few weeks ago when I talked about it. I mentioned this in my Discord, and someone was like honestly, like someone was getting really pissed off and upset about the performance of their market performance, right? And I was like, well, how old are you? How long have you been in the market? Turns out they're relatively young and they've only been in the market a year. So stuff like that's huge. But when you think back 5 years ago or wherever, if you've been in the market 5 years and you bought Bitcoin 5 years ago, a four to five X is massive. 2 to 4X is huge. And then it feels like the narrative is people are like, I personally think a lot of people are after the 10 to 20Xs. They're playing with small money. They're trying to catch big in the casino. Shift the mindset away from that, right? Think bigger, but use money properly, learn properly, risk management, and actually play the game of investing, which is actually time. And that's where I think people go wrong. And I know it's kind of like, oh, that's a bit obvious to say, but people genuinely do think they're going to get rich overnight in crypto. And I don't know why. Because the market's not going to vanish anywhere, is it? Let's be honest. And this is why I've got my risk bets in runes, for example, or the odd little new thing. But most of my wealth is in Bitcoin. I've got like, I think it's 75% of my portfolio is Bitcoin right now. But the difference is I've been in the market in 2016, so I can. And I'm a bit attached to it now. But as I say, like, if this is why I say to people, like, for me, watching my portfolio go from, say, X to whatever, I can't compute a 300k Bitcoin. I can't. I'd be out of it probably because it's like it's already made me stupid monies. But yeah, we'll see. What's happening? Oh, Bitcoin 89k. Boom. Where we are. Had a feeling that might happen before. Bit of a rough day, innit? Yeah. I think we've lost that level, boys and girls, which isn't a bad thing. It's good. It's good to allow it to move. We'll see where it goes, though. That is pretty ugly, though. Let's be honest. But let's look at this relative thought process, right? That is only a 17% drop from the top. 9 times out. No, let's not use statistical data here. Normally, in the last cycle, what we did see running up was we used to hit a 21% drop to drop down. That takes about 85k. So we might go and revisit this kind of little cluster here at 87 to 85k, which statistically puts us on with all the drops that we've had in the past, which were roughly around 20 to 21%, which isn't too bad. We'll see where it goes. Bit ugly though, isn't it? Not many people like it. But yeah, it could be a lot worse. It's like getting shares for Samsung and then telling everyone Apple is the future. Yeah, that's a good point. Do we have too many trades this cycle? Traders? I think the opposite, Seems like everyone wants to hold long term. Nobody wants to. Right. I think that's a great point. Now, I think a lot of people flip flop, but I also think a lot of people don't want to trade because it's crap price action. Now, I'm going to say this is going to sound obvious, but on Learning Crypto, right, we have a traders membership where it unlocks more of a trading sort of thing, right? So basically, what this does, you've got trading charts in, videos and indicating, right? You know something? It's so quiet. Like trader wise, it's not very busy. I feel that the price action of the market is pretty ugly. Like look at Bitcoin, like that is look at the state of it. It's ugly. There's no real big trend. It's like big blow offs. It's a bit ugly. It's a bit horrible, right? That's the reality of it. So people are kind of turned off by it. Altcoins is down only. So that's not very fun unless you're good at shorting, and people don't like to short. People's bias is Bitcoin's the future, crypto's the future, altcoins are the future, chainlink's going to change the world, whatever, right? Insert coin here. But they don't want to short it, they're kind of scared. And I'm the same. Like, whenever I say about trading, I only trade for fun. Put a small amount of money into an exchange and just play with it. Everything else, hold on to it, relax, use that pot, build it up, move it into there if you make good money, right? Sort of vibe. But not many people want to do that, and it feels a bit odd. It does. It honestly, it feels very odd that this cycle is like everyone flaps at like certain things, but people don't actually sell the high. Like when people take screenshot portfolios, they don't do it. Like I was taking profit at the start of 2024 when I was buying certain things. I took profit not too long ago. I bought a car at the middle of October time, thinking, you know what, and why not? And the reality is here, people just don't want to make money, and they just want to hold and expect it to do it all for them, but they're actually buying the wrong things, or they've gone balls deep into a meme coin or something, or they just don't have the patience, or they look at Bitcoin and they don't look at it from a I'm going to make loads of money. It's more about keeping wealth scenario in terms of the BTC pairs. Because over time, my belief is, and this is my belief only, not your own, I believe Bitcoin will be worth a lot more in the future. In the future, as in 10, 20 years' time, not like next cycle, but play the cycles. Buy low, sell high, rebuy back low. Use altcoins to grow it. Simple, really. Nvidia down. A lot of the tech stocks are getting battered at the minute, which is really irritating, as you can see. So mine is not doing great. Obviously, Nvidia's down. Tesla's down. MicroStrategy's down quite a lot, to be fair, today. So it's just a bit rough. I think it is a lot of unsettled, speculative behavior. Obviously, the VIX is doing pretty well. The VIX is, as I mentioned at the start of this live stream. Don't forget to like it if you're watching, or if you're new, subscribe, say hello, say a thanks, all that kind of good stuff. I always forget to say that. I should really say it more often. So yeah, it's just not looking great. Not looking great, but at the end of the day, we've got to remember where we are. Crap month. Bitcoin still 90k. We're a-okay. We're not in the absolute gutter just yet. Could be though. Don't know when like, but we'll see where people sell. ETH down 10%. My expectations for Bitcoin is 130 to 150. That would be great too for this cycle. In all fairness, yeah. I mean, you've seen my levels. I'll be twitchy at certain points, but it depends on what happens. If let's just say if runes fly, and like altcoins do a bit of a bid, and they allow me to get more Bitcoin, then it'll be very, very interesting. But we'll see where we get to. There's too many people, in my opinion, think that we're gonna go to crazy levels. Like I said it before, like people going, oh, we're going to 1 million at least. Like I can't really see it. I can't. Like, can you imagine the stink of $1 million Bitcoin? Imagine the stink, and your altcoins don't pump. Wow, it'll stink. Obviously, your altcoins will go a little bit up in USD. You probably think you're a genius because Polkadot's gone up a little bit because obviously Bitcoin's gone up by 10x. But wow, it will stink, won't it? Let's be honest. So yeah, be interested to see where we go. BTC dominance. Ooh. I wonder if this is the last dip that we're going to get before Donald Trump's inauguration. I mean, it's trying to fight it back. It really is. It's back down to that 998 now. Wow, look at that. That is a real big $89,000 Seek missile fur thing that just went and zipped it. That'll be interesting to see where we go from here. 4-hour time frame's going to oh, look at the state of that. I do apologize for the blueness. Yoink. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see where we go from here into here. That's the overriding thing. So yeah, next few live streams I might talk about exit plans on certain things and how to do it. But the volatility right now is pretty savage. It's a horrible candle, that. The only thing that I want to buy next, by the way, if anyone's wondering, is Magic Eden. But I might buy down here actually. I don't really know where I can buy really, other than get as low as I possibly can. I've already got a decent dollar cost average to be fair, but I could get it a little bit lower here, which would be quite nice. Nice. Any stocks you're holding? I'm holding Bitcoin miners. You'll see them here. So I got Wolf. I got Soluna. I have Iron, Hut, and Clean Spark. I also have a there it is, the Bitcoin. Well, this is a blockchain fund. I also have some UK dividend stocks and the S&P 500 and bits and pieces like that. Nothing crazy. But my main portfolio is actually miners. It's doing all well. I say it's doing all right. It's not doing all right today. It's still up a decent chunk, but nothing crazy. I still think miners need to run. A lot of them are kind of a bit iffy right now. At the end of the day, we'll see where it goes. But you know, they have had some pretty hefty corrections realistically. So we'll see where they go. I'm hoping they catch bids around here, to be fair, and then continue going higher. Earnings season could be very interesting for a lot of these. So we've got earnings in what? When's that? 23rd of March for Wolf. I think we've got earnings across the board around certain. I think that one's not been announced yet. There's clean. There we go. There's Clean Spark is in February. So earning season could be very interesting for these because a lot of them have obviously been mining Bitcoin, so to speak, when it's been much higher in price. So hopefully it'll be pretty interesting. This is starting to look more and more like January 2024. Kind of ish. It just depends on what you look at because January 2024, let's have a little look at it before we bugger off, was very boring. There it is, very bleak. So we had a bit of a run into no, we had a run here, sorry, into a consolidation, into a very, very ugly kind of top, and then a big new low, and then we continue going higher. But the problem what well, I say a problem now. Back here, altcoins ran. They did well. Right? The altcoins did well. They caught up a little bit, then we kind of surged, and then we kind of died from that point. And once it died, it was bleh. So it would be nice if that does happen and we get like a bit of a breather in altcoins, but it just doesn't seem it. It seems like Bitcoin's caught a bid, by the way, but it's gone back up again. So obviously, yes, you can see this ugly, but we had the altcoins doing very well into a very, very strong then February, March. I mean, look at Bitcoin now at 91,500. So maybe we've not taken out that low just yet. Maybe it's a bit early to kind of say. Imagine if it ends at like 94,000 at the end of the day or something daft. Look at that. I mean, that's a 5 hour time frame. That 5 hour, 5 minute time frame. That's pretty nice, but it's still very early. That could zip right back down. But we'll see where it goes. Obviously, the half an hour is going to look a lot prettier now. So yeah, maybe we've caught the bid around here. That's probably a. We'll see. We'll see where it goes. Anyways, I'm going to shoot. I've been on here almost an hour now. Appreciate you all coming out and having a little look at the market. Obviously, I know it's a bit ugly. It's just the way it is. The thing is, what I would say is try not to get too over emotional, try not to over risk. All that kind of stuff will play into your head. Obviously, my opinion is I think we are at a real interesting point in the market. I think we're going to probably start seeing a lot of changes in and around Donald Trump's inauguration. Might be rough first before it gets better. But the data shows that the cycle narrative is very, very interesting and we're kind of still on par. Unless that changes, unless it kind of totally goes wild, we'll see where it goes. But yeah, enjoy. Don't over risk, don't over leverage, and